So recently, there's been a lot of talk. I mean, in the corners of the internet that you know where to look for them, there's been a lot of talk about Zaluzny, the commander in chief of the armed forces of Ukraine, that he might potentially be the next president of Ukraine, and that Zelensky might be deposed somehow. Deposed, either kicked out of the country or arrested or assassinated, pick your choice, but basically a coup d'etat, a military coup d'etat. Now, the reason that this is coming up is that apparently, and from the sources that I'm hearing, it seems to be true, the Pentagon, the US Department of Defense, is pushing for General Zaluzny to take over in Ukraine. Now, this, of course, would go counter to the State Department and counter to the National Security Council, basically the neocon Clintonista wing, who this wing wants the war to continue indefinitely. They want the war to continue until the last Ukrainian man, woman, and child are killed fighting against the Russians. That's their stated aim. They want to weaken Russia. And of course, if you have an army general who cares more about his troops and his people than about winning a war or pleasing Washington, well, that general is, of course, going to immediately sue for peace if he becomes president of Ukraine. That would be the rational thing to do. It would have been the rational thing to do over a month ago, quite frankly, at this point. But, 30,000 or 40,000 odd lives later, Ukrainian soldiers' lives, well, there's talk now that Zaluzny might overthrow Zelensky. This is not going to happen, not in a million years. Because the neo-Nazis surrounding Zelensky, they know that if Zelensky is kicked out, their days are numbered. They'd have to go on the run instantly. They're not going to let that happen. They also understand, too, the dynamics going on in Washington. The Pentagon, the Department of Defense, they realize what's happening, what a disaster this is. They want this to end. They want to wind it down. They certainly don't want an escalation. They want this to wind down because the result is clear. Anybody with a little bit of military background, hell, somebody like me who's doesn't even have any military background, but sees the logic of the situation, recognizes that Russia won. This is now a police action. And the only thing that will result in continuing hostilities is the more needless and pointless deaths of all of these young Ukrainian soldiers. So the Pentagon wants to end this, but the Department of State and the National Security Council and all the warmongers in Raytheon and all the rest of it, the Senate, blah, blah, they all want to continue this war. And the Nazis around Zelensky want to protect their position. So my thinking as of today is what, June 18th, 2022? I'm here in Kharkov. I don't have any kind of insider information. This is just strictly from the news I'm getting. But it would seem reasonable that General Zaluzny's days are numbered. He will likely either be assassinated or imprisoned on trumped-up charges that he was plotting a coup. Maybe he's actually plotting a coup. I do not know. I have no insider information of any sort whatsoever. But whether he's plotting a coup or not, he will be charged as such. And it is very possible, indeed likely, that in the attempt to arrest him, he will be killed by accident, like has happened before with other Zelensky regime officials who didn't quite toe the line. Zaluzny is a very dangerous figure for the Zelensky regime. For the Zelensky regime, note what I'm saying, not Zelensky himself, because Zelensky himself is a puppet. He's just being puppeteered by different people. Right now, he's being puppeteered by the neo-Nazi goons in his administration. And so he got the word from Boris Johnson that he has to continue this war. His neo-Nazi circle that controls him and in many ways has him as a hostage, because that's the reality that's going on in Kiev right now. Well, this circle wants to stay in power, if only to protect themselves, if only to draw out their survival by just a little bit more, a few more weeks. So they're not going to let Zaluzny take over. And I think that they're probably going to arrest him and potentially assassinate him. Zaluzny, by the very fact that people in Washington might be desiring him to take over, that marks him. The rumors coming out of the Pentagon wanting Zaluzny to take over, that alone would be reason for the Zelensky regime to get rid of him permanently. I think that that's what's going on right now. Only time will tell. But I do believe that there will be no coup, and General Zaluzny very soon will no longer be a factor in this war.